Perfect,
and
thank you.
I'm doing a little double dipping, Tim. I got Pablo sitting next to me.
Hello.
And I really wanted to show him this report too. And the reason I'm saying it is that I'm going to go even a bit slower than normal because Pablo hasn't even attempted to see this, so I just want to make sure that we review it fully. So I think what I even want to do first is kind of just step back and just talk about the report for a second and then talk about more how Denver is using it specifically. So
okay.
The report that we're talking about and the process that we're talking about is the end of day cash report. And the reason that this report, I would say, deserves more attention than almost any other one within Sprytec is that when it comes to payments, this is where all the confusion or theft or problems can come. And my point being is that for a house account, generally speaking, you throw your Grubhubs and your E24s on a house account, they pay us, it works without us having to do much. Credit cards, same deal. You charge credit cards, the money hits our bank account, we don't have to do much. But the end of day cash report and cash deposits, that's where there is actual human interaction and lots more opportunity for mistakes and thefts and problems and things like that. The end of day cash report is specifically tied to Sprytec defining how much money they think you should be taking to the bank account and not necessarily your cash sales for the day. And the reason I say that is that every branch is a little different. If your branch cashes every driver out every day, then the end of day cash report will match your true sales because you had 20 orders today and you cashed out all 20, and so that for that reason your sales summary and your cash out would match. Some branches don't do that. Some branches cash drivers out as little as once a week. And so the example I use there is that if I was a driver and I drove Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but I didn't cash out until Friday, my orders would not be a part of the end of day cash out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because the system knows that I did not come in and hand that cash to the dispatcher. But on Friday, even if I did not drive, if I was cashed out of the system, Sprytec will include my orders for those days on the Friday cash out because that's the day we actually got it. Looking at just some general systems, Tim, this is what I used to do in Gainesville, and I'm going to kind of draw it really crappily on paint, but I'll kind of just verbalize like what I would do. But in Gainesville, we always started the day with a particular cash bag. Let's call it, in this case, come on now. All right, it's going to be small font because it's giving me a hard time. But in this case, let's say I started the day with $100. Throughout the day, I am putting money into my cash bag as I cash drivers out and they pay me, or potentially I'm taking money out of the cash bag as I cash drivers out and I owe them. Tim, you are one of my favorites because you are one of 3 branches who does your tips on DDI. And that makes this process a lot easier because it basically takes away this arrow. Except for special cases where maybe you're paying a driver for doing something above and beyond, you should never owe a driver anything. He should only owe you. And the reason I say that is, first of all, let's say he did nothing but credit card orders. Well, in that case, he owes you 0, but you also owe him 0 because the tips will be on DDI. If he had a few cash orders, he owes us the cash for that. But again, we don't owe him his tips because that's on DDI. So basically, we'd only be adding to this bag. And then the way that I would do it is at the end of the night, I take my cash bag. The very first thing I do is I take out whatever I started with to make tomorrow's bag. So if we started the day with 100, I would always start my end of night process by taking 100 back out. I would try to be strategic and use smaller bills, change 1s, 5s. And again, it doesn't have to be 100. Gainesville was a bigger branch. But the main point is that whatever number this is what number this was. And I just tried to use a system that would give me plenty of change in the bag for the next day. And then if I took the 100 out, whatever is left over is my true cash, my actual cash, which should be deposited to the bank in a timely manner. Now, Tim, obviously we're going to go into variables and reasons why that flow may get off. But once you kind of get this flow going, this is the general concept of it. And if you've worked at restaurants before, very similar to what most restaurants do. Going back to the actual report itself, Tim, can you comment on how often your drivers are cashing out? Like, for example, for prepping for this call, I pulled up your orders, and I saw that yesterday every driver was cashed out for yesterday's orders. Is that your goal moving forward?
Well, with the last two cash outs we've had, I have some drivers that the report is saying I owe, and I know that we don't give them any money. So it's throwing that off. With this week, I've decided to cash out the drivers every single night, do a cash out or do an end of the day report the next morning, and then just keep that for the week and then deposit it on, all drivers need to cash out on Monday. So Monday by 5 p.m. and hopefully this week I'll be able to get in there and do a drop on Tuesday. With us doing cash outs, we were doing them, let's say Thursday through Sunday. It was adding a Wednesday for some drivers, saying if they owed additional cash. So that's the reason why we just started that 2 days ago. So I can change that if that needs to change.
Yeah, well, throwing me off with some of the language. So when you say that you do a cash out Thursday through Sunday, does that mean that you're cashing drivers out throughout those day periods, or was your cash out Sunday?
Well, so the cash out was Sunday initially when we brought cash back on, the cash out was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday due Monday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday due Friday. So I had a cash out on Fridays and Monday.
Okay.
And the reason why I did that is so that all monies were accounted for. With I know last year and the previous years that there was unaccounted money, and I'm looking at these reports and my numbers are not matching up with what I have in cash.
Exactly, but I think that we're just not pulling the reports properly. Now, first of all, I'll tell you again, this is absolutely a reliable report that every single branch is using, and as long as we just make sure that we're pulling them for the right date ranges, I know that we can trust it. And beyond that, every branch except for you, just because I haven't gotten this crack at you, they also put it on Basecamp every day. And so this is something that I want to eventually add to your plate, is that once we start getting it down, like we can see here, like Gainesville at midnight, they posted theirs, here's Miami's, and it's just like I want to get into the habit of posting it every day. But what I'm thinking is, first of all, even if I'm cool with you cashing out the drivers every day for now until you kind of trust the report now, but eventually you won't have to be that extreme, but what I do want to do is still run this report every single day, even if you didn't cash anybody out. My point being is that, let's say that, again, you go to a system where you're just actually cashing them out, twice a week, and Monday you didn't cash anybody out. I still want to run this report for Monday, even if the report is zero, and I want to eventually get to the point where you're alerting the bookkeepers, hey, my end of cash today is zero, I didn't cash anybody out, and at least they know that. But let's say, again, that we have a scenario where you have drivers who drive Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and you cash them all out on Wednesday. We're only going to run this end of day report for Wednesday. We're going to run it Wednesday to Wednesday, but it's going to have orders on it that were whatever orders were cashed out that Wednesday. So when you say that you ran it from Thursday to Sunday and there were Wednesday orders on there, that tells me that there was at least one driver who had orders on Wednesday who didn't get cashed out until the period you're looking at. And with that said, that's definitely going to throw off your numbers, because you're thinking that you're only looking at Thursday through Sunday, but you're dealing with drivers who had orders from before that who are just now getting cashed out.
Okay.
So what I want to do first, again, is just get in the habit of running this every day. But looking at yesterday, for example, and what it would have looked like, this would have been your end-of-day cash report for yesterday. And this is a nice little snapshot. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go back in time, actually, and just look at how we got it and look at what we're looking at. So for end-of-day cash, what are the dates? You always, always, always want to do this for just a single day. You never want to do it for more than a single day, because this single day is going to be multiple days if a driver was cashed out over that time range. But what you don't want to do is make this 20 to the 22nd, because now you're taking in drivers who are cashed out on the 20th, drivers who are cashed out on the 21st, We don't want to bring that into the equation. We want to only look at drivers who are cashed out on the 22nd, knowing that their orders may have been before the 22nd. That's cool, but we want to bring their orders into it. We don't want to bring old cash outs into this. So you always are going to do it for just a single day. The actual cash is, going back to this crappy picture I drew, what's left over in the bag after you took out the bank you started with. So just for the sake of argument, I'm leaving this as 0. Tim, you've probably seen this already. You got to put a number in all of these, even if it's 0, or you're going to get this gobbledygook error. So it just needs a placeholder. But actual cash would be, this is you telling SpryTek, and this is you telling the bookkeepers, hey, bookkeepers, this is the amount that will actually be going to the bank as a deposit at some point. So I'm putting 0 just for argument's sake. Gift cards and actual checks are almost always going to be 0. The intent of that was that, particularly when the software first started, there may have been paper gift certificates out there that were being rung in as cash, or maybe we accepted checks that were being rung in as cash. These are almost always going to be 0, so just that's it as a default. Pay-ins and payouts. This is your opportunity to tell SpryTek about cash changes that it didn't know about. And when I say cash changes, my point is that if you paid a driver for buying sodas, if you paid a driver for doing favors for you in cash, this is how you tell it. So a pay-in would be if someone paid you cash for, like, I don't know, buying some sodas from you or something. Pretty rare. So I'm going to put 0 there. But again, this would be that if you put money into this cash bag that SpryTek didn't know about, this is your way to tell it. More likely would be payouts. It's not uncommon to have to pay a driver for doing a favor or pay a driver for buying sodas. And so if you're taking cash out of this bag that SpryTek doesn't know about, this is how you tell it. So let's just say, for example, hey, $10 I paid out. Whenever you have a payout, that's going to trigger you to give more information to the bookkeeper. They're going to want to know what this payout is, but it's a fairly judge-free zone, meaning that if you gave $10 for a favor, you did $10 for a driver doing some marketing for you, the bookkeepers are not looking to do a gotcha that you gave out too much money. But if they don't know that you gave out that money, it just shows up as missing money, basically. But again, the reason I'm focusing on cash is that if you gave a driver $20 for doing things for you through DDI, that doesn't affect this. But this is you telling SpryTek, hey, SpryTek, you think that I collected X in cash, but it's going to be off by this amount because I've already spent it. So we're going to run this report, and the numbers are definitely going to be off, but I can rerun it again later. But looking at yesterday, you had 3 drivers who did a total of 32 orders. They collected $90.31 in cash. All your tips are paid out through DDI, so the tips are 0. So the total was $90.31 that was collected. Down here, the computer cash deposit is saying, hey, you should have collected $90.31 today. And in this case, we're saying, hey, we collected 0 and we did a payout of 10. So let's even try to run this with better numbers. We saw right there that it was $90.31. So I'm going to say that my cash was 90. I'm going to change payouts to 0 just to make this easy. Assuming that you actually collected 90, the computer is going to say, hey, I thought you should have collected 90.31. You collected 90. You're off by 31 cents. 31 cents is A-okay with me. But again, where do we come up with this 90? I would be hopeful that this would be a true number because, again, we see here that Greg, his cash out was 0. Jacob's was 66 and Joe's was 23. And looking a little deeper, I'm going to replicate the cash out from yesterday and see if we agree with these. And with Greg, he had no cash orders. There were no tips coming to him, so his cash out was 0. For Jacob, he had 2 cash orders coming to about 66 bucks. The tips are all through DDI. 66 is the final. He owed us that. Joel, 1 cash order for 23. Again, no tips. He owed us 23. So assuming you actually cashed him out for 66 and him out for 23, you would have had roughly $90, which would have made this the accurate cash out. Now, Tim, you said some things that concern me, like about the system prompting you to pay the driver.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, one twist on this is that this is all depending on the fact that the driver's profiles were put in correctly. So let's back up and look at that. Now, looking at these three, I think they were put in correctly because this looks exactly like it should. But that's no guarantee there's not other drivers out there who have an issue. But looking at Greg, for example, just to look at his profile, I'm going to administration users, and I want to look at Greg. So Greg has been defined to be paid by third party, and that's perfect because he's getting paid by DDI. All of your drivers should be third party. The only time they ever should be direct payment would be if it were someone like you or possibly like an employee that we're not putting through DDI, but really they should always be third party. And then this one here, tips on payroll. You pay your tips through DDI, so this is an important setting. But keep in mind, if you have some drivers out there who are defined as tips cash out, DDI Tech is going to prompt you to pay those tips to them on the cash out.
Well, that you just nailed it because that's the problem right there.
Perfect. So we can fix that. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to run a wider driver cash out by date range. And this report is going to walk us into, we're just going to be able to eyeball it, the drivers that need to be updated. And Tim, I think you're right that we nailed it because, again, I don't mean to be snotty, but this report is the report that I have the most interaction with of any. I know I can trust it. And so that's why I knew there had to be something off, because once we have the settings right, I know this report's going to work for you. So what I'm doing right now is
if you go to Jack Young, that would be a prime example, Jack Young, because that was the one that was throwing me off. And when I
Perfect. And here it is right here, Jack Young, and we can see it. The system is prompting you to pay him tips for it. Now, again, keep in mind, 16 of my 19 branches do operate like this, where they pay the driver's tips. But for you, the problem is, and again, I'm just going to kind of throw it out there, when you run the driver payroll report, it's also going to be prompting you to pay this driver these tips, and so he's potentially getting double paid. And this is exactly also why your cash outs. Now, here's the part where your cash out, I think, could potentially be correct, would be that when you were cashing out this driver, he's prompting you the system is prompting you to pay him this $203.47. But when you were running the end-of-day cash report, it's also assuming that you paid him this $203.47. So if you actually did that, everything would balance out. But what I'm assuming is that you didn't, that maybe you caught it and you said, hey, this doesn't look right, and then that kind of just threw everything into a loop.
Well, yes, and then, like I said, when I would do a report, and that one, like we just figured that out, is if we, forgot to cash out that one driver, and he got put on the report, it was adding Wednesday. It was adding the previous, let's say the previous, you actually can inactive him. He is no longer with us.
Okay, awesome. So just look at it here. I'm going to inactive him, and just for shits and giggles, I'm going to define him as third-party tips on payroll. Perfect. So I want to go back to this report and see if we see anybody else. Jacob's perfect. And again, I'm looking at just this tip field. I want to see zeros for everybody. That one's perfect. That one's perfect. Perfect.
To be honest with you, I think it was just Jack. And then, like I said, I was running the reports incorrectly, which was adding more cash than what was due.
Your theory is proven. I didn't see anybody else. So, yeah, man, I think that we just kind of found it, that I think Jack is screwing you on his way out the door. But just a reminder, because, I'm kind of tasking you with training your staff on it. It's simple, but it's such an easy mistake to make. Driver, and you always want it to be delivery model, third party, tips on payroll. And again, you'll probably be able to catch it pretty quick now that you got the knowledge, and that if SpryTech is ever prompting you to pay a driver a tip, this is wrong. And you just got to go to administration users, update it, and it updates live, meaning that if Jack were on your screen and you went to cash him out and you caught it, and you went here and made the update and you went back to the dispatch, it would update automatically.
Fantastic.
So I want to just look at it one more time just to kind of wrap up. And I do want to bring the Basecamp part into this. And what I want to just remind you, Tim, because I know you got so much on your plate, but when you first came on, I was rolling out this Basecamp for people posting the end-of-day cash reports. And then I took a call with you and Allison, and we said, hey, you're not even going to be collecting cash soon. Great. I'm not even worrying about you. You don't even have to do a cash out. And but now that you are in the system, I want to get you like fully caught up in it. And so the way that we're using this end-of-day cash report, I'm sorry, in Basecamp specifically, is that you're on obviously Basecamp right now for Denver marketing. Do you know if you're on this end-of-day report as well? Yeah, you are.
I am. I've actually, the only reason I haven't been posting is because my numbers haven't been correct. And
yeah, no worries. And again, I haven't really, at this point, I now am going to say after this call, you and I are on the same page and I have different expectations for you. Until this point,
absolutely,
you were kind of in no man's land, purgatory. And so no worries on my part, or, you know, with you, but I do want to get you on the same system as everybody else. So the truth is, even if you've been posting it to the end of the day, we haven't really been doing much with it yet, but we will be. And so your timing is perfect. And so the reason that I was getting everybody to the end of the day, and I'll pull up this one just to look at it, like Gainesville, for example, it's just so easy that like, here's 322, 321, 320. Like if I don't know, my bookkeeper called me a couple days about March 7th. Well, March 7th is right here, you know, it's right at your fingertips. And plus it also helps in that I don't need you worrying about which bookkeeper needs to look at what. You add it on here. If I need it, I need it. If Pablo needs it, he can grab it, bookkeeper, whatever. But it also serves as an opportunity to have a conversation. So even if your numbers are wrong, I invite you to post them on here and say, hey guys, here's where I'm at and it is not adding up. Can you guys take a look at it? And this will catch our attention and it's like Facebook. We'll be able to kind of talk right on it right from here. But I would like to get you on the system of doing it. And again, Gainesville's a big branch, but you can see for them, they have payouts every day, and they just list them right here what they are. And, you know, again, it's going to be up to the managers to look at this and decide if they think that it's too much. But these are all things that got reimbursed throughout the day, and they're also doing gift card restaurants, and they listed right here, and they included receipts. And again, it's just a nice, clean little system. But that is what I would like to get you at. And what I would like to do too, again, is that knowing that what I don't want is for you to continue doing phony cash outs. And phony is a bad word. It's like yesterday you cashed everybody out and you didn't actually cash them out. And again, I totally understand why. You didn't trust the reports yet. You're building a system on your own. You're doing that, and that is no judgment there. But long term, I don't want you to do that because that does invite confusion in the long run. So once you kind of get in the swing of things and you trust the report and you got a system, I would like you to just cash out the drivers when they actually cash out. But what I would love is that if it's Monday, Tuesday, and you don't cash anybody out, you just jump onto your end of day report and say, hey guys, no cash outs today. And at least that way the bookkeepers go, okay, cool. We shouldn't expect any numbers from Tim. He's cashing everybody out later. And then on Wednesday, you would run the report again. You would cash everybody out for their Monday to Wednesday orders. You would run the report for Wednesday to Wednesday. That would include all the sales, and then you would post that one when you're all done with it.
Okay, so to reiterate that, the way we were just talking about, that was the way we had initially started when we brought cash back on, but we're going back to one cash out a week on Monday.
Okay. So when you say one cash out a week on Mondays, does that mean you're physically cashing the drivers out Sunday night, or you're physically cashing them out Monday morning?
Well, I guess that's my question to you, because with you know, it was especially this last week, it was trying to figure out what was going on, and when I was cashing out the drivers, like I said, we would just discuss that it was going on different days. So what we're doing now is and correct me if I'm doing it wrong, but we're not cashing out the drivers now at night, and we're only cashing them out on Monday when the actual cash is physically in my hand, correct?
One change that I would want to do on that. So normally I don't care what day you're doing. You totally have my blessing. But I do care about the Sunday to Monday distinction, because there are, especially on the bookkeeper side, a lot of reports. Basically, Sunday ends a period and Monday begins a new. And so what my request would be is that even if you're physically collecting the cash on Monday, that's fine, but cash everybody out of SpryTech Sunday night. So what you would actually do is go to the dispatch page, even if they're not in front of you, cash them out Sunday night and write down their totals or print out whatever you need, and just be prepared to interact with them on Monday. But I would ask that you do that Sunday, and that way, again, all the payroll reports, all the weekly sales reports, they are completely tied out at the end of Sunday night. And then Monday, you could come in, you could actually cash everybody, and when you've cashed everybody out, you would run the end of day report from Sunday to Sunday. Sunday to Sunday, because that's the day that everybody got cashed out of Sprytech, so that will include the whole week. And then you would run that report and compare it to the actual cash that you have it in your hand. And in fact, if that's what you do moving forward, no worries about going on to Basecamp every day and saying no cash outs today. We would just tell the bookkeeper, hey, this is what we're doing. Every Sunday night, Tim's going to be cashing everybody out of the system. Every Monday, he's going to be actually interacting with them. And at some point Monday afternoon, he'll post the end of day report that'll actually be a true end of week report.
Perfect.
But this one's pretty important, because I will tell you, I know if the bookkeepers were on the call, they would say A, B, and C, why it's important to do it Sunday instead of Monday. But I also know, like, the driver payroll report, you're going to be running that report to pay the drivers through DDI, and you'll be running that Monday to Sunday. And again, that's another reason that I just want Sunday to be the stopping point, because when you're cashing these orders out Monday, you're now bringing in last week into the new week, and that just is going to cause confusion. But again, I don't care if you actually interact with them Monday, that's totally fine. But just make sure that when whoever leaves Sunday night, I want this dispatch page to look just like it looks now.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So here's, I guess, where I would want to leave it. I am asking you to involve me on Monday. So my point being is that on Monday, when you actually interact with the drivers, and I don't even care when you're done, maybe it's not even until Monday night, but at some point Monday, you're gonna be done interacting with every driver. Assuming now that every driver profile is correct, you're going to be either breaking even with each driver or bringing money in. Then at some point Monday, you'll run the end of day cash report from Sunday to Sunday. I am asking you to add it to Basecamp, but if you forget to do that on next week, that's not the end of the world. But I do ask you to send me the report just as a final check, just to make sure that we got a couple more eyes on it.
Fantastic.
Okay, cool. And then just the last part of it too, you saw that I ran the driver cash out by date range report. And I know you had sent that before. This is going to be a good report to replicate cash outs. But again, just the same concept. If you're cashing everybody out of the system Sunday night, I would only run this report from Sunday to Sunday. And then that's going to capture all the orders that were cashed out that day. If you truly are cashing people out only on Sundays, then there's really no worries if you ran it for a wider date range. But again, it only opens the door for more confusion. So like I would run this report just for Sunday to Sunday, and this one Sunday to Sunday. The driver payroll, though, I would do Monday to Sunday, because this one, again, is looking at the true order count.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. And really quick for Pablo, the driver payroll report is the report that's used to actually give the delivery fees to the drivers via DDI. And Denver, Miami, and Palm Beach all pay their tips through DDI as well, instead of directly to the driver. Tim, I don't know how you feel about it, but I'll tell you, for me, as not being there, I love that you do that. It gives you more control. It makes the cash outs easier. Believe me, once we get through this, they will be easier. And again, the control aspect, I mean, control is a dirty word in our independent contract model, but, you know, it does give you a little bit more on hand in case you have some issues that come up along the way that require financial restitution.
Absolutely. I'm all over it.
Okay, cool. So Tim, anything else while we got you on the line?
No, thank you so much, Chris. Pablo, this is exactly what I needed. 100%.
All right, awesome. And I did record this too, so I'm going to throw it on my YouTube, and I'll shoot it over to you at some point.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Tim. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.